He will have only 10 hours to complete an impossible mission that will allow him to return to his children. Cobb is an expert at entering other people's dreams to steal secrets. He's fleeing the United States because he's accused of murder. A company called Cobol Engineering hires him to extract information from the mind of a Japanese businessman named Saito. But the mission goes wrong, and the company threatens them for failing. Cobb and his partner, Arthur, prepare to escape, until Saito finds them and proposes something different. Instead of stealing an idea, he wants them to do the opposite, to plant one. This job, known as Inception, consists of implanting an idea into someone's unconscious. Saito wants Robert's son to believe that his father wants him to sell the company and start his own business, thus ensuring that the rival empire dissolves. Arthur believes that Inception is impossible. He thinks that a person's mind always ends up realizing where an idea comes from. According to him, inspiration cannot be faked. But Cobb, deep down, knows this is not the case because he once managed to do it with someone very close to him, though it all went very wrong. I'll tell you what happened later. At first, Cobb doesn't want to accept the job, but Saito convinces him by offering to use his influence to clear his charges and allow him to return to the United States to reunite with his children. So Cobb and his partner, Arthur, get down to work and begin to assemble their team. They travel to Paris, where Cobb visits his father-in-law, Miles, the man who taught him everything about navigating minds. Cobb tells him about the situation and says he needs someone to design the dream worlds. Miles introduces him to Ariadne, one of his best students. After watching her draw some mazes, Cobb is convinced of her talent. One day, Cobb trains with her inside a dream and explains some rules. First, in dreams, time passes differently. 5 minutes in reality are equivalent to 1 hour inside the dream. Second, it's possible to create multiple levels of dreams. That is, dreams within other dreams. The deeper you go, the more time dilates in relation to reality, and the greater the risk of getting lost, because it becomes very easy to confuse reality with dreams. To avoid this, there are totems, personal objects that help you distinguish whether you are dreaming or awake. In Cobb's case, it's a spinning top. If it spins without stopping, it means he's still dreaming. Third, there are 2 ways to wake up from a dream: die within the dream, or receive a kick, which is basically a fall that jolts you out of it. Cobb also explains that her job as an architect is to design the dream scenarios, while the target's mind is responsible for filling those spaces with content. Everything that appears, including people, are projections of the unconscious of those involved, but mainly of the unconscious of the person they want to influence. In this training, those projections come from Cobb's mind. He also warns her that the more you alter the dream world, the faster the target's mind notices the intrusion and begins to defend itself. That's exactly what happens. Cobb's projections attack Ariadne, and a woman appears whom Cobb recognizes as Mal, who ends up stabbing her. Ariadne wakes up scared and tells Cobb that he's trying to cover up very serious problems and that she does not intend to open her mind to someone like him. She leaves, but soon returns, because deep down she's fascinated by everything related to dreams. Arthur explains that the woman who attacked her was a projection of Mal, Cobb's wife. He tells her that Mal died, and her death was so traumatic for Cobb that every time he dreams, she appears to sabotage him. When we talk about dreams, it's impossible not to think of Freud's psychoanalytic theory. So I'm going to analyze the film from that perspective. Freud proposed that there's a system in our mind that he called the unconscious. It's made up of thoughts, feelings, memories, and conflicts that are not accessible to the conscious mind because they're difficult to accept or process. However, even though we're not aware of them, they continue to influence our personality and the way we act. In other words, the Freudian unconscious is a place where emotionally charged experiences are stored. Everything we've experienced, especially what has a profound impact on us, remains there and continues to affect what we do, even if we don't notice it. Many of our decisions, desires, and fears have roots that we cannot consciously see. Freud also believed that these unconscious contents seek ways to express themselves, and one of the most direct ways is through dreams. According to his theory, when we sleep, our defenses are lowered. That kind of internal censorship that filters what we think and feel during the day relaxes. Then repressed memories and emotions find a way out. However, they don't appear as they are. The unconscious expresses itself in disguise, using strange symbols and images that sometimes seem to make no sense. That's why Freud said that dreams should not be interpreted literally, but as if they were code. The premise of the film is much better understood from this Freudian idea. Entering someone's dream is like entering their unconscious. And if you manage to get deep enough to the place where their most deeply rooted beliefs and most significant memories lie, you can plant an idea that will not be perceived as something external, but as something of their own. And that idea can grow, take root, and over time become the force that guides a person's decisions in their waking life. On the other hand, since everyone is actually dreaming, it makes sense that each person contributes content from their own unconscious to the shared dream. That's why we see how Mal appeared now, and will appear again and again in Cobb's dreams. Her presence tells us something he hasn't been able to work out, something related to her that haunts him, and that's why her image keeps coming back. We'll see what that is later on. Just a quick pause to say that if you're enjoying this video and haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It would mean a lot and really helps me keep making more videos and content like this. Alright, let's get back to the story. After what happened, Cobb finishes putting his team together. He visits Eames, a forger capable of impersonating anyone. Eames tells him that to achieve his goal, they have to start from the deepest level, his relationship with his father. He then recommends Yusuf, an expert chemist who can prepare a sedative strong enough to take them into a very deep dream, with up to 3 levels. With the team ready, they plan the mission. Maurice, Robert's father, is about to die, and Robert will inherit the company. The relationship between father and son is cold, but Robert has a strong bond with Peter, his godfather and his father's right-hand man. That detail will be key. The plan is to take advantage of the 10-hour flight Robert will take to Los Angeles, carrying his father's body. There, they will sedate him, enter his dream, and once inside, take him to a 2nd and then 3rd level of sleep. At the deepest level, they will plant the idea that he must choose his own path. Before the day arrives, Ariande sneaks into one of Cobb's dreams and discovers that there is a very painful memory in his mind related to his wife. She can't see all the details, but he can't let go of that past. Ariande is concerned because she knows this could jeopardize the mission. Finally, the day arrives. They board the plane, Cobb puts the sedative in Robert's drink, and it all begins. In the 1st level of the dream, they capture Robert, but they're soon ambushed. Robert's unconscious has been trained to defend itself against intruders. During the ambush, Saito is seriously injured. The team proposes eliminating him so that he'll wake up, but Cobb reveals something he had hidden. Due to the strength of the sedative, if someone dies in the dream, they will not wake up. They will fall into limbo, the deepest level, a place from which almost no one has ever escaped. Only Cobb has done so. In the past, he and Mal experimented with dreams within dreams. Cobb wanted to go deeper, but he didn't understand that time passes much more slowly down there. Hours become years. They ended up so deep that they spent the equivalent of 50 dream years living in a world they built together, but which was not real. Cobb could no longer live in a false place and wanted to wake up, but Mal clung to that world. Cobb managed to convince her to leave, but when they woke up, Mal still believed that everything was a dream, and that the only way out was to die. On their anniversary, Mal self-eliminated, leaving false letters and evidence to frame Cobb and force him to die with her. That's why Cobb is on the run and can't go back to America with his kids. Then, to prevent Saito from ending up stuck in limbo, they have to hurry. Eames, the forger, impersonates Godfather Peter to begin sowing in Robert the idea that he's not obliged to follow in his father's footsteps. During the conversation, Robert confesses that he didn't have a close relationship with him. When his mother died, his father only told him there was nothing more to say. Robert was 11 years old. Eames, posing as Robert, tells him that, in his own way, his father did. Then Robert reveals that on his deathbed, his father made the effort to say one word: disappointed. Robert's unconscious projections continue to attack, so the team flees in a van. Inside, they generate a 2nd dream, this time in a hotel. In this 2nd level, Cobb tricks Robert into believing that his godfather, Peter, is trying to get inside his mind, and that he, Cobb, is there to protect him. Robert believes it and ends up agreeing to sleep Peter to get into his mind and discover his intentions. But they're actually taking him to the 3rd and final level of his own unconscious. This 3rd level is a fortress in the middle of the snow, very protected. Time is pressing, because Saito is still dying. The situation gets complicated. In the 1st level, Yusuf is cornered and decides to throw the truck from a bridge. Falls, remember, are the kicks that serve to wake up. Now you have to finish the mission before the truck touches the water, because the kicks must be synchronized in all sleep levels. The advantage is that in each deeper level, they have more time. Cobb protects Robert so that he can get into the building. Robert thinks he's getting into his godfather's mind, but he's actually getting into his own. But just as he's about to open the vault, where they plan to implant the idea, Mal's projection appears. Cobb hesitates for a moment, and Mal takes the opportunity to shoot Robert, sending him straight into limbo. Cobb and Ariane decide to go to rescue him, but in the limbo, the deepest place of the unconscious, Cobb will have to face his own trauma. Arthur explained in the film that the people who appeared in the dreams were not real, but projections created by the dreamer's mind, and this idea still fits very well with Freud's theory. As I said at the beginning, for psychoanalysts, dreams should not be taken literally. What is important is what they hide behind the images they show. As I also suggested earlier, Freud said that some dreams work like encrypted messages. Each element, be it a person, a place, or a situation, is linked to the desires, emotions, fears, and internal conflicts of the one who dreams. What appears in the dream cannot be understood alone, but from the history and associations of the dreamer. Now, not all dreams have to have deep meaning, and there is no universal formula for interpreting them. More than the content of the dream, what matters is what that content awakens in the one who dreams. The dream can be a vehicle to put out the feelings and conflicts that in awakened life we do not always get to look. If we transfer this idea to the universe of the film, everything makes a lot more sense. Mal does not appear in dreams as if she's returning from the afterlife to take revenge or blame Cobb. Mal, as we see it, is a representation of himself. It's the image of his guilt, of his pain, of the anger he feels towards himself for what happened. It's his unconscious mind making him feel, again and again, what he has not been able to elaborate. This sense of guilt that Cobb carries also explains why the figure of Mal becomes a constant obstacle. Freud described that unconscious guilt is often closely linked to the desire for punishment. When one cannot forgive oneself, the mind finds ways to punish itself, and that's what we see in Cobb. His own mind generates the figure of Mal to pursue, sabotage, and remind him of everything that torments him. Every time Mal shows up and ruins a mission, it's an act of self-sabotage. A part of Cobb believes he doesn't deserve to be at peace or achieve what he wants. That's why she's there, to stop him from moving forward. So, to prevent his own mind from continuing to sabotage the mission and protect his team, Cobb, now that he's reached deep within himself, will have to face what he's been avoiding for years, and perhaps finally start letting go. In Limbo, we discovered the truth of what happened. When Cobb was trapped in limbo with his wife Mal, she didn't want to wake up. To convince her, Cobb planted a very simple but powerful idea. This world is not real. It worked, but when he woke up, Mal could never get that idea out of her head. She believed that nothing was real, not even life itself, and that the only way to wake up was to die. That's why she threw herself out the window. Cobb knew that planting an idea in someone's mind was possible because he himself had done it with his wife, and that guilt continues to haunt him. In Limbo, they encounter the projection of Mal, who has Robert trapped and does not plan to release him unless Cobb stays with her. Mal tries to convince him that the world he lives in is not real, asks him to choose to stay there, in the world they built together. But Cobb tells her he can't stay because she doesn't exist. He finally accepts that Mal is just a projection of his guilt and lets her go. The subject of the mission was Robert, but it gives the impression that, indirectly, there was also another subject, Cobb. In the end, he ended up seating himself with an idea. He traveled to the depths of his mind and was finally able to face what he had been avoiding for years. He was able to accept that the evil that haunted him, that guilt that tormented him, was not really her, but a part of himself. And upon realizing this, he was able to change the meaning he had fixed on his wife's death. And in doing so, he could release, accept what happened, and return to their children, because they will need it. I really liked this arc because it can be read metaphorically in relation to what happens in a therapeutic process. In life, some experiences remain with very rigid meanings, and many times, the beliefs or wounds. They're fully aware, or we prefer not to look at them. But when, through exploration and association, those contents come to light, we discover everything behind them. Then it becomes possible to work to loosen these rigid meanings and give them a new, more elaborate and conscious one. They manage to rescue Robert, and Ariane pulls him out of limbo, giving him a kick. He pushes him from the top of a building so that he wakes up on the 3rd level. There, Robert opens the vault and finds a projection of his father, who tells him that he was disappointed not because he wasn't like him, but because he tried to be. That phrase is the seed of the idea they wanted to plant. And then all the kicks start to chain up. Until now, I had talked about theories that explain how dreams bring out unresolved conflicts and feelings. But the following question arises. Can dreams, in addition to showing us these conflicts, help us elaborate them? Can they be a cathartic space where we process things that, when awake, are hard to face? Something similar to what happened to Cobb, who, through his dreams, met the image of his wife and freed himself from guilt. It is worth clarifying something. All this, including the ideas of Freud and psychoanalysis, are theories that can't be tested scientifically. Yet, for a long time now, both therapists and many people in their daily lives have felt that dreams can fulfill this function. I think of something that someone close to me once told me, who, after a very painful loss, dreamed about the person who had died. In the dream, that person said something to him that comforted him deeply. When he woke up, of course, he knew it was just a dream, but the sense of peace and comfort that he felt remained with him. It was as if, for a moment, he'd been able to close something that actually still hurt. That is an example of how a dream can act as a symbolic space where the mind accommodates what hurts. Although it is a construction of ours, the emotional experience is real, and sometimes can open a space to process something that we had not been able to touch while awake. Has anything like this happened to you? Have you had a dream that made you feel lighter or helped you understand something about yourself? Meanwhile, Cobb and Ariane are still in limbo. Cobb tells her to leave, that he will stay and look for Saito, who should already be dead from his injury. Ariane jumps, and Cobb stays. Eventually, he finds Saito, already old and lost in limbo, and makes him remember that this world is not real. Then, everyone wakes up on the plane. Saito keeps his promise, makes the call, and when he lands, Cobb passes customs without any problems. Finally, he can go home. On arrival, he goes straight to his children, but before seeing them, he turns its totem once again, happy to have awakened. Or maybe not. We saw how the film plays all the time with that confusion between being in a dream or in reality, and I want to close by reflecting a little on this, because I think it invites us to something deeper. From psychoanalysis, we talk about two realities, objective reality and psychic reality. The objective reality would be what happens outside, which in theory is the same for everyone else. But in practice, each of us lives in the world subjectively. We don't see things as they are, but as we interpret them. This is very clear in dreams. While we're dreaming, our mind creates scenarios, people, and situations that feel so real that we don't question them. Only when we wake up do we realize that everything was our creation. But if you think about it, something similar happens when we're awake. The difference is that it's more subtle. We interpret what happens to us. We give a meaning to everything. And with that, we build what is real for us. That is what in psychoanalysis is called psychic reality. Some people manage to question their own way of seeing things, but most of us take for granted what we feel and think is reality as it is, when in fact it's only our way of looking at it. A reality that many times was not even born of us, but was sown by others without our notice. This is where we connect with the plot of the film, because if you think about it, we've all been seeded with ideas, family, culture, society, media, experiences. Everything leaves seeds that end up shaping our psychic reality, how we see ourselves, how we understand the world, others, and how we act. We believe that these ideas are reality and that they were born from us. Maybe not. Maybe all this we've talked about serves to look inside and start asking, what ideas have been guiding your life for years without you noticing it? How many of them are really yours and how many are planted? And perhaps most important, what parasitic ideas, what beliefs are sabotaging your life today from the depths of your mind? Thanks for staying until the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend who you think might enjoy it. And you and I'll see you in the next one.